And again, answering are the Eagles.
Gatto now, 4-3. That's 2 in a row for the freshman. The steal, the spin, behind the back, splitting the double team. Elliott! Oh! Ryan Thomas with a jam. Baxter with authority for his first points of the night. That could be an SC top 10.
Gentlemen, gentlewomen, and gentle people of the earth, welcome. We continue to implore you to be gentle and also wash your hands. Coronavirus is rampant. Apparently. Although, more people die from mosquitoes per year.
And the cold and diabetes.
And flu and killing each other.
Yep.
So, anyways, just wash your hands and be courteous of where you're coughing.
You mean things we should be doing regardless?
Yes.
Right.
But, friendly PSA. Welcome to Screech Report. This is E. Keezy, a.k.a. Elliott, and Viva La Russ is over there.
Hi.
And, this is like the final pod of the season. Our last one was the regular season. We just watched Liberty whoop up on Lipscomb.
Demolish.
It was a close game at first, but then they just kind of ran with it.
Mm-hmm. Asajala was in foul trouble, and that's, as we saw playing them, which we'll get to in a bit, in the opening round of the ASUN tournament, he is Lipscomb. So if he's in foul trouble and has to be taken off the court, Liberty just has too much talent.
He's insane, man. He's blown up since last season.
Mm-hmm.
It went from 7 points to 18.
Torn ACL his true freshman year.
Right.
Redshirted the whole year because of that. Comes back last year as a redshirt freshman with 8 or 9 points a game, 8 or 9 rebounds a game. So that's pretty damn good just there. Then redshirt sophomore year this year, 18 points a game, 10 rebounds a game, something like that.
4 assists.
Yeah. He's a great passer.
And in the ASUN tournament, he's at 33.5 points per game. I think 18.5 rebounds a game and 4.
Set a career high in points against us in the opening round. Set a career high in rebounds with 19.
That always happens.
Yep. Well, of course it does.
We always have someone go off for their career night in a loss.
Whether we win or lose, the opponent's going to go off.
But yeah, Liberty will be representing the ASUN this year in the NCAA tournament. And rightfully so. 30 wins on the year, which is incredible. Anytime you do that, you're a legendary team. Maybe not legendary, but in your school history.
Yeah, for your own personal school history.
So I think they're 30-4, and is to be seen what seed they will get come next Sunday.
What do you think?
Selection Sunday.
It's hard to tell.
Really, they have 2 losses or 3 in conference play.
2 in conference play, I think.
1 was to Lipscomb.
No, they had. I think they had 1
without looking
loss.
It up. It was Lipscomb and maybe UNF or
they lost to Stetson.
Okay, so at least 2, and then they lost in the regular season non-conference to LSU.
Yes, I think that was their only one. Though.
It was. So that's a pretty
substantial.
Yeah, I think they're going to be definitely no higher than 13.
I think the sweet spot here is a 12 or 13 seed, which is amazing coming out of the ASUN. In all our years,
isn't that what they were last year? Was a 12?
Sounds right.
12 in Mississippi State was a 5.
I don't think it's necessarily a slap in the face, or maybe not a really hard slap in the face if they were to be a 14.
But they didn't have this type of year last year.
No, they didn't.
So
all the players who were juniors last year are now seniors, so they're even better.
If anything, I think they go down in the seeding.
Yeah, down as in good. Yeah.
Hats off to Lipscomb. I didn't expect them to make it this far.
No, they looked worse than us to the first part of conference play.
Right.
And then just one of 8 of the last 9 games in conference play or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the man
Asajala.
Assad, We learned how to pronounce it, I think.
I don't know. I
Well,
know,
his teammates are calling him Asajula.
right, but like I feel like sometimes players with a somewhat hard to pronounce name or like non-traditional names sort of just let everyone say their name wrong because it's easier than saying no, it's actually Asadullah or something like that.
But Asajula runs off the tongue real nice.
Yeah, because we just
We
force
like
that.
convenience.
We're just like,
yeah.
my name's Asan Asadullah, and everyone's like, nah, it's Asajula. And you do it so much that he's all right, fine.
Yeah. Whatever it is, we're just going to call him Asajula.
Mm-hmm. Just run with the sheep.
If he continues at this pace, he's NBA bound for sure. I mean,
Yeah, and his game somewhat translates to the problem with a lot of college bigs is that like the old timey NBA big Drummond, Andre Drummond, guys like that, they're dying. I mean, Drummond's a great player, and a guy like Brook Lopez is somewhat adapting because he can shoot an outside shot. But if you're not quick, and you can't shoot an occasional like deep two, then it's really hard for you to get like a solid starting gig somewhere. You can be that big body off the bench in the NBA, but it's really hard for you to make a name. Now in college, it's still a lot of teams still love that, big traditional center. But Asajula, 6'8", so he's not a skyscraper necessarily by big standards.
he's got good handles. He can
good
pass.
handle, yeah. 4 assists a game. He can pass really well. He can rebound. 265. He's strong. His outside shot, his deep two, looks very reminiscent of Marquette's. That kind of range. He made a few threes on the year at a decent percentage. I mean, that's something that can grow. So definitely NBA talent.
Yeah, we'll have to see where he ends up. Let's touch on our actual loss to that team, and it was really the Asajula show.
40
career
points.
career high 40 points. I forget how many boards, 19 maybe?
Enough. No,
Yeah.
19 was his career high for the next game.
Oh.
Yeah, second round he got a career high.
So
in
17
rebounds.
or something.
Yeah, some teen.
But anyways, that was the entire game plan. You could tell it was just feed Asajula and let him make or miss and hope for the best on our end of the floor.
So I think my observation at least was that for FGCU it was like 3-pointers are worth more than 2-pointers, obviously. So it's sort of an acknowledgement from the staff, from Coach Fly, from the players that there's very little chance that we're going to have of disrupting a guy like Asajula enough, like with double teams or whatever, to where it's going to really impact the game because he's going to dominate. It's just kind of a given at this point with the personnel that we have, with the way the year has gone at this current state of, FGCU's roster.
Current matchups.
Right, exactly. That's just Rainwater can play a little bit of defense on him, but he's going to get in foul trouble. That's clear. So, Rivers.
Well, our best bet was Brian Thomas.
It ended up being Brian Thomas.
With his physical limitations.
Right, he's been battling injury all year. Ended up playing 23 minutes a game. I think that's probably one of the higher minute amounts that he's played all season. So it's, we knew that we weren't going to be able to sustain or contain rather Asajula for long. So it was really don't double team him. Make sure the perimeter is well guarded, and don't let guys like Buckland and Fleming, the seniors of Lipscomb, get hot from three, because that will be the death of FGCU. So, sure enough, Asajula is like, fine, give me, one-on-one matchups, I'm going to drop 40.
I looked it up. Brian Thomas averaged, where was it? I just had it. 12.4 minutes a game this year.
Right. So that's essentially double
yeah.
his season average in that game. So
for everyone wondering why Brian Thomas wasn't played more, it was probably because he couldn't play more.
Right.
Unfortunately. Because
right.
What do you have, 8 blocks?
Yeah.
Not all on Asajula, but
mostly. But
yeah. I mean, he was the only one containing him.
Asajula was noticeably affected when Thomas was in the game. It was obvious. He wasn't comfortable with the ball in his hands. He's like, where is this big body behind me? An inch taller than me, about my same weight, can out-muscle me, or maybe not out-muscle me, but can muscle me. But yeah, so, and whether you want to say that game plan was smart or not, whether it worked or not.
Well, it didn't work.
it's maybe
At the end of the game,
but
at the end of the day.
if working means we had to win, then yes, it didn't work, or no, it didn't work.
Well, it worked, but it didn't work because it didn't stop them from scoring. So it was almost like a temporary, like a Band-Aid.
In ways, yeah.
Let's just put a Band-Aid on it and hope for the best. Maybe we can come out with
At the same time, we didn't score in the last 3 minutes of that game. Not one shot.
No, credit to their defense.
Not one shot.
Discredit to our
we
offense.
were winning. We were winning with a minute and a half left in the game. If you hit one shot, one little layup, a couple of free throws, whatever it is, that's a completely different story. And then is the narrative, look at this brilliant game plan by just letting Asajala hammer down low and we just don't let him get hot from three and then we, eke out a win. Then is it a brilliant game plan that worked then? Because
it's just ifs though at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can speculate all you want. At the end of the day, it didn't win. But I see what you're saying.
Mm.
It's impossible to tell. And then if you win, you wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
So.
History is written by the victor in all senses of it.
But you got to credit Lipscomb for either, I forget what the deficit was in the last 3 minutes, but they obviously came.
Big.
No, maybe 5, 6 points, something like that. But they still came back, muscled through it.
Played tough enough defense to where we couldn't. When we had open shots, we didn't make them, which was annoying, but,
And it makes us feel better when they made it to the championship game.
Right.
Knocking off UNF, who was supposed to be the one playing Liberty.
Right.
So.
But that's almost, I'm not trying to be mean, but maybe I am.
Go into it.
It's
Let's
almost, isn't that expected of UNF at this point?
Yeah, they have been the one team to never quite. They've made it once.
They made it it was 2015. They made it to the
year
tournament.
after us.
Yep.
Or
one of our years that we made it. Yeah.
No, Mercer was the year after our year.
Yeah.
Initial year.
Yeah, you're right.
And then
UNF made it. But again, and they.
But they choked, man.
We're talking about teams, players. If people are new to following FGC, they might not know these players. But people who have been following the program and the ASUN for a few years now. Dallas Moore. Bo Beach. Day Daniels,
Davenport.
Chris Davenport. Those are big time names for UNF. And what did they do with them besides do well in the regular season? And they didn't. They made the tournament one time with basically all 4 of those players.
It did get a win in the tournament.
Yeah, was it Duke?
That was Mercer.
Oh, you're right.
UNF, I forget who they played.
Well, it was obviously big because they wouldn't have had better than a 14 seed.
Wasn't it like Robert Morris or something weird?
Why would Robert Morris have a really good seed enough to play?
Oh,
UNF?
That's true.
Yeah,
I forget who they played.
No, it would have had to have been probably 1 through 4 seed that they beat. I think Lipscomb or UNF probably had a 15 seed when they went or something.
But yeah, that is interesting. UNF. Always plays a really tough non-conference. They beat themselves up in non-conference.
Yeah, they end up coming into conference play with 3 wins.
And then they're always a top 3, at least in recent memory, in conference.
Yep.
And then always choke in either the quarterfinals or the semis.
Yeah.
Or maybe the championship. They never quite get there, and it's just...
Well, I kind of think that's... Matt Driscoll, the longtime coach, the way he...
How long's he been there? Sorry.
No idea, but look that up while I babble. Longtime coach of Lipscomb, they always are competitive. And at the same time, it's just volume 3s, which is a few teams in the ASUN, but it's just 3-point, 3-point, 3-point. And, 3-point after 3-pointer and not a lot of substance elsewhere. And that's great. And that's actually a really effective way to beat a team that's more talented than you. Say you go to the tournament and you play a 1 seed and how do I just stop you from making 3s? It doesn't matter if you open or not, you make them. But when you are in a conference like the ASUN and it gets really chippy in the tournament, you play teams that know how to beat you because they play you 3 times a year if you meet them in the tournament. And so, I think that's probably plays a pretty big part in why, they haven't been able to necessarily get to the dance. But I don't know about you. My favorite thing about Coach Driscoll and UNF, though, is Elliott. You ever see that meme?
Yeah.
Was it when I think the last one I saw was Spice Adams posted one about him, or the caption had something to do
Well, it was
with,
from when they were in the tournament.
Correct.
There was footage in the locker room
right,
of Matt Driscoll
just
going...
losing it. He looks like he's looking at a wall. Like his players are like
No,
celebrating
he was
behind
closing his eyes. He was
Yeah.
in a fantasy land going ape shit. I
him.
mean,
He goes, let's go! Just screaming. But the last time I saw it as a meme was Spice Adams said, there's always one guy on your team who celebrates like this or something like that. And it was just Matt Driscoll
I thought
screaming.
the meme was when you're waiting on your girl
Yep.
to get dressed to go to dinner,
You got it.
and Matt Driscoll represents all men. Let's go!
Yep. At least he's a rock star with the memes.
So, I'm looking at his Wikipedia page, because that's always right.
Yeah, don't let your teachers tell you different.
And he's basically 500. He's 183 and 178 all time as a head coach.
Success. Well, that's in part to do with the really tough non-conference they always beat themselves up with.
Right, but before these last...
And it's partially to do with that before they started being good the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, whatever, they weren't that great in
No.
conference and with him.
But here's the weird thing is they're 3-time ASUN regular season champs, which we all know doesn't really mean much, but it's still on your resume. So 2015, 2016, and this year, they're regular season champs. They won in 2015, and he's got 3-time ASUN Coach of the Year in all those years. But what does that mean at the end of the day?
Yeah. Accolades are fun.
They're cool and all, but
Yeah, you got to go to the
especially
dance.
in the ASUN, it's all about the dance
Yep, you got it. Yeah,
and winning the actual ASUN title.
right.
Because I don't actually know what significance the ASUN regular season title honors brings. Besides,
it probably helps recruiting. I mean, people know that you're good consistently.
yeah. You don't get a trophy for it, so
You might actually.
I thought it was just the one when you win the tournament. The
I
ASUN.
don't know.
I don't know either.
I have to talk to the ASUN commish,
But enough on UNF. This is an FGCU podcast.
if you remember.
We're not about the swoop life. Now that we're wrapping up the season, we had some questions about, what was it? Osborne Shima?
Yeah. So on Instagram, we received a message from Jordan Odom, FL. If you wanted to give him a follow, he'd probably love it. I don't know him though. And he was asking about the status of an Osborne Shema, don't know. Never got the chance to learn how to pronounce his name because he's never suited up for the Eagles.
Supposed to.
Right. So rewind circa summer of 2019. We got, everybody's interested in who's going to be on the team next year. It's so different. Who are all these transfers? I want to know about them. Well, 2 of the transfers or signees were a guy named Gabriel, Chachashvili, who was from Israel. 6'10", like 200 plus, sharpshooting, 3-point guy, but also 6'10", so he has to play down low sometimes. And then this Osborne Shima guy, who was 7'1" and about 200 pounds. Now it sounds kind of rail thin, but he was also 19, 19-ish, and gonna, Travis Wallace, he'd take care of that. But another guy, have we ever had a 7-footer in the program? Not a true 7-footer.
Not that I can recall.
Tallest guy I remember was Eric Muller, and I don't even really want to talk about that right now. But he was 6'11",
6'11",
and advertised as a 3-point shooter.
6'11", and probably realistically 6'10", 6'9".
Yeah, well, we know about basketball heights.
Yeah.
Let's real quick. At the last home game against UNA, I walked next to Jamari Blackman on UNA, and I myself measure at about 6'1", and I was at least an inch taller than Jamari Blackman. So I don't know about these heights because he's listed at 6'1" as well, and I'm not 6'2" or 3. So.
Well, were you wearing your platform shoes or?
Oh, you're right. I was wearing my platform heels. I was going to disco after. Remember?
Oh, the silent disco.
Yeah, the silent disco at Millennial Brewing Company.
Shout out Millennial Brewing.
Right.
We're not sponsored, but
No, just like you.
good beer.
Anyways, so with Gabriel Chachashvili and Osborne Shima, we're excited. We want these big, tall trees, coming to the program and given their skill set, and these are cool signings. Then we find out a couple months later in the offseason that we actually signed a guy named Sam Gagliardi.
Jeez.
Well, another sharpshooting three-point guy, because the Gabriel guy ended up signing a professional contract in Israel. So that means he basically forgoes all his collegiate eligibility for athletics if you sign a professional contract anywhere. So that's the same thing that happened to LaMelo Ball, if anybody follows that. Signed a pro contract in somewhere and
Lithuania.
Something, and then couldn't
Libya.
play. Siberia.
Uganda. I don't know.
Right, somewhere. And but anyways, so he was ineligible. That's why Coach Fly went out and recruited Sam Gagliardi, because we needed that 3-point specialist. For Osborne Shima, I guess he didn't qualify academically. So that usually means a player goes to JUCO for a year or so or more and then comes back out. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to come back out to us. Most likely it won't mean that, actually, because you can't necessarily sit around and wait for a guy. And who knows how good I haven't followed it. So I don't know how well he's done in his year in JUCO and whether that warrants a D1 scholarship or not. But it doesn't look like he's going to be with the team next year. And we had one other question that we wanted to address, and that was from this one guy named Ryan Roquant. I don't know if you know him.
Nah,
never heard of him. Oh, unless he's that one genius scout team legend.
Yeah, that shoots 100% from the
1,000%,
field.
100% from the field in his senior year. That is an NCAA record, actually. Tied with a lot of people, most likely, but it's an he didn't miss a shot.
Unfortunately, it's just one of those that gets slid under the table.
Yeah.
And never gets talked about.
Yeah. These are the things that we need to be talking about.
Yeah, I'm going to Los Angeles with this.
Mm-hmm.
To the Sports Center headquarters.
Right. I thought it used to be in Connecticut. Is it in LA?
I don't know. Everything's in LA now. LeBron.
LeBron's in LA. Everything's in LA. Anyways, this genius and legend Ryan Roquant wanted us to talk about how he's been overlooked for shooting the highest percentage in NCAA history this season.
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yep, wholeheartedly.
What did I say?
No, this is another off-topic thing, but I got texted something earlier that said wholeheartedly, and it's wholeheartedly is the real way to say it. Now, I don't. They weren't. I know it wasn't them talking fast because it wasn't them talking. It was over text. I didn't correct them. I'm just gonna let them. If they listen to this, they'll know.
I kind of like that though.
Heartily.
Yeah.
It means like a lot of it, like a hearty soup.
Yeah, wholeheartedly. Like they just went in there wholeheartedly.
Sounds like something on the side of a Campbell's Chunky can.
Yeah, it's like when you get the whole wheat option.
Mm-hmm.
This is wholeheartedly.
Wholeheartedly shredded wheat. Regardless, yeah. I mean, he shot 100% from the field. Don't even get me started on the per 36.
Yeah.
72 points if he were to play 36 minutes in that last game.
And that would break all kinds of records.
Tons. And that would have happened. I wholeheartedly agree.
And then he would have got drafted right to the Atlanta Hawks with Brandon Goodwin.
Yeah. I'm sure Brandon would have vouched. They were together 1 year.
Were they?
Mm-hmm. I think. I'm just going to say, yeah, they were. Right, Ryan?
Yeah, the genius will know.
Yeah, he would know.
So at the end of year 2, under Michael Fly, FGCU ends up 10-22, 7-9 in conference, and an early round exit in the quarterfinals of the ASUN tournament. Granted, everyone except one team in the ASUN makes the tournament. Poor Kennesaw. So, it was kind of a regression from last year, wouldn't you say?
If you're talking about wins and losses, yeah.
I would say it was a regression up until the last quarter of this season.
Right, and even the first year under Coach Fly, it felt like there were times in that year where it felt like the deepest pit of hell was going on.
I can hardly remember last year. I just know it was better than this year, like as far as.
But only come conference play. It was the same story as this year. It's just I think that an underrated point in this past offseason was how young this team was. Was it talked about? Yeah, but was it really harped on? No. Like, we did not deserve the preseason, like, third place finish. Like, we did not deserve that. But when you see things like that, it kind of gets rid of your, oh man, we're really young. I don't know if we're going to be good. Oh, they gave us third place? Yeah, we'll be all right.
So that was that coach poll or what?
That's just the ASUN committee or whatever. They just, the preseason poll, I think.
So, and we've talked about this before, but part of that was due to our recent success over the last 5-7 years.
History, yeah.
Basically D1 history.
Mm-hmm.
So it is hard to remove yourself from that when your entire fan base
expects
every single
greatness.
fan and follower of FGCU basketball expects you to win, expects you to make the postseason. So you have 2 down years. We talked about this last pod. It feels like you've had a decade of bad basketball. And you can't have 20-win seasons every year.
No, you can't. And so, like, and it's somewhat unfortunate, and it's also sort of a not traditional way to do this. A new coach comes in. It's typically, I'm tearing this thing down. Guys that I haven't played with, transfer out of here, have a great senior year. Young guys, buy in or transfer as well. You know, I want my guys, my recruiting class, all that. It's a different situation with a guy like Coach Fly, who's been with the team for, 8 seasons. An assistant on the Enfield staff, an assistant on Dooley's staff the whole year, working his way up from, like a third assistant to a, right-hand man. And, it's not, these aren't guys he's never played with. Now, is it a system that he wants to adopt and play with and run with? No, it's not. He's more in line with the Enfield system than the Dooley system. So but there were guys, who left. Rayshawn Scott left. Zach Johnson left. But that's because lifelong dream of playing for Miami. And, a couple guys stayed. Brady Ernst was with us last year. Ricky Doyle was a senior, things like that. But still, these are guys that were recruited to play Joe Dooley's system of basketball, and they were left over. And it wasn't a situation where they had never played for the coach. They knew Coach Fly. So they stayed. And for better or for worse, last year was, in a lot of people's minds, the worst thing that could have happened. But now, as we just had a 10-22 season, we're seeing that it really wasn't the worst thing that could happen. It was, I think, 14-18 or something like that, and competitive in the end. But at the same time, it was almost, I'm not going to call it a wasted year, but it was sort of this false line of which that we're going to get better from. We had to get worse first.
We were falling.
Right. We had to get worse than 14-18.
It wasn't rebounding yet.
Right.
Was
that wasn't the bottom.
Now you hope next year.
You hope
this is the valley.
Right.
And you hope next year you're
as a peak
bouncing back up.
Yep. So I
don't think next year's 20-win season by any
I don't
means.
either, but I mean, this is obviously a very early guess. We don't even know what the roster is going to look like.
Yeah.
And not even close. But we do know at the same time that it's going to be a lot more familiar faces. You got Cato, and he emerged gracefully this year, way better than I think really anybody expected, except for maybe himself and his dad. But I really, I think that you just need to see improvement over last season's win total. I think it'd be great to see a winning record at the end of the year and be competitive.
In conference or overall?
Yeah, overall. Regardless of how hard our non-conference season is, I think you need to see. I think you need to see and
for
watch.
sure in conference.
Yeah, for sure.
I think you need at least 15 wins.
Yeah. But I think that's the low end. You're saying at least, which is right. I think you really got to set that bar at 17, 18 wins, close to 20 wins. But I don't see an under 20 win season as being like this. See, we're not even that much better kind of, argument. You can expect that, but you'll be disappointed. And you can go back to, well, Dooley had 21 seasons every year. Well, Dooley didn't want to be here. He wanted to get 21 seasons every year so he could go somewhere else that he wanted to be. But I mean, again, you're always going to go back to the idea of what Kavanaugh, athletic director, said, that we want to build a Gonzaga. We want to build a team that's going to run mid-major year after year after year. But Gonzaga doesn't always get high major transfers and all these kind of things. That's not necessarily the route that they go. They also, the reason that Gonzaga is so competitive in the tournament is because they have seniors on their team, guys who have been with their program for at least 2 years. If you just get 1 year players in your program, that's not how you build like actual championship program. That's how you build a good season, one season.
Correct. And those players typically, in the general sense of things, only care about themselves for that 1 year. It's not like they're...
I mean, of course they're going to care about the team and
yeah,
winning.
but they're not cemented into that foundation and culture.
Yeah, they haven't been with a program
come
for
in and
2,
win
3, 4 years.
and pad your resume and get you on your way.
In a sense, yeah. It's less of the we've been together, the same group of guys for 2, 3, 4 years, and we've built this, and let's go, take the head off of some Power 5 team. It's hi guys, it's been real. This is great.
Right.
For a year. Unless
you're LeBron James, all the All-Stars, you can't join a team and make them
right
perennial contenders for...
It could help, but again, that's not how you sustain success. That's how you have success for that 1 year.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When you build a team and you have that chemistry over 3 to 4 years. Mm-hmm. But what I was saying is, unless you're like LeBron James or any All-Star coming into the team,
right,
you may make a difference, but you're not going to change the...
You're not going to culture shift.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the one thing that a lot of people had a problem with, and sometimes it bothered me too, and this is no slight to Michael Fly, but it's like we would keep losing in the same fashion throughout the year, and like the same things were repeated, and the same excuses were repeated, and it just kind of got tiring, and I don't know. It was over the whole season. It was like, really, you're just going to keep saying this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you, and I think it's simple. I mean, the only reason it's frustrating is because you hear it a lot, and you don't want to hear it a lot because you don't want it to be true. But what happens if it's true? That's why you're hearing it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, like, again, I like a lot of the players on this roster. I do. I see future in a lot of them. I see a bunch of growth that's going to happen in the next 1, 2, 3 years. But in the current state of this roster, who, after seeing how poor the start to the season was, who looked at this roster, at how young people were, at how unproven people were, and said, man, we're going to make some noise in the tournament? Like who really thought that the current state of the team was in a position to win a bunch of games?
That's what everybody, not us, was saying at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't want to play your team in January. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want to face your team in January.
But at the same time, that could mean a lot of things, because guess what? We were very competitive at the end of the season against really anybody except for Liberty. We could have beat UNF at home. We could have beat any other team besides Liberty.
Keep in mind,
at any point in the season,
besides Liberty, the ASUN is kind of in the bottom half of college play.
Less than half, but yeah.
You know what I mean.
The bottom of everything.
Which is not what we strive to be.
No.
It's where we're at right now. It's where the ASUN's at right now, but we want to be the women's team. We want to be
right, the Gonzaga of the ASUN. Yeah.
So, I guess, and it's just a different way of handling it as a coach. You saw it a lot in Dooley when we lost. It was like he kind of owned it. He said, "We didn't do this," and he never said like, "Hey, it was on me. I called this," but it just seemed like...
You're talking about accountability.
Yeah, and again, it's nothing against Fly or nothing. It just seemed like a lot of deflection was going on in some of these interviews. And
the difference that I see, because they're what we have to go from between like a Dooley presser and questions answered and a Fly presser, is that, like, what's a coach supposed to say? They're supposed to say, we needed a better game plan. We needed more rebounds. We got to play tougher, and that's on me. That's what everyone is supposed to say. But again, I see way more thorough and thought out responses to questions with Fly. Is it the same thing he said last week because we lost in the same way? Yep. But it doesn't make it any less true for me. I'd rather hear an honest assessment from a coach of players a couple times than hear a textbook, "It's on me, I'm the coach, we got to be better" answer every single time.
Correct, but At the same time, you'd want that response to change because you'd hope you're improving on those areas why you're losing. For the first half of the year, it was turnovers is why we were losing. And inexperience, that was the excuse. And that's still a valid excuse throughout the whole season. I don't know. It's kind of a moot point.
Yeah.
But I think that's
Well,
why
I also think a lot of people's late season complaints were just left over from being mad about the early season. Because again, at the end of this, we won half of our games essentially, not exactly, but essentially we won half of our games. That's a lot better. Is that what you want to win all your games? But it's way better than winning 3 games in non-conference play.
Right.
So I think a lot of people's frustrations are just left over from how pathetic it looked at some points during the early season.
Yep. A lot to look forward to next year, and you hope those improvements come. And time will tell in the off season with our new signees, if you can call them signees.
Yeah.
Recruits,
we got
players. 3
freshmen coming in. Then Dom London's a JUCO transfer. Looks fantastic. So.
Yep.
We don't know if Carlisle's coming back or not. I guess we'll find out that in the next couple of months or something.
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Mac. Neither of those things, but.
So, being that it's the end of our first season covering the team at Screecher Report, we put together a little Screecher Report team awards throughout the year with various fun categories.
And traditional ones.
Yeah.
A little bit of both.
So,
salt and pepper.
Let's rail some of those off.
What do you want to know?
Who was the overall MVP? I think we
should know who this is already. It's got to be Cato, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're listening, if any families listening, any teammates, Caleb Cato, congratulations. You are the SR Screecher Report Brandon Goodwin MVP of the year. And
why is it named the Brandon Goodwin MVP of the year?
Well, it's not much of an argument, but arguably the best player in program history, Brandon Goodwin, making noise with the Atlanta Hawks. It's got to be named after him of all people. So the Brandon Goodwin MVP award would go to you, Caleb Cato, for being the rock in this season. 13 points a game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Looked fantastic in conference play, and can't wait to see what next year looks like for him. I could see a situation where he averages barely more points, but we're a better team with, and he helps facilitate that. That's nothing to be disappointed about. Yeah, just a good year for him. Starting every game after not starting a single game as a freshman. Big time.
What about most improved or biggest surprise of the year? Do we have anyone?
Oh, I did a most improved. By the way, we're going to have an accompanying article coming out sometime next week with a list of all the awards and all the guys.
Reasons why.
Right, just a description of what they mean. Just a fun little thing to do at the end of the year. Obviously, you're not getting anything tangible because I think that might be illegal. And also, I don't have anything to give you. I can give you a little piece of candy.
Not if we say we're friends.
Right. But
dap them up. Hey, buddy, let's go get lunch.
Yeah. No, I honestly think you're not allowed to do that.
Really?
Yeah. It's got to be through the school. Like meal plan.
So Caleb Cato can't get lunch with a friend outside of school and that friend pays for lunch?
Well, it would have to be like a peer, though.
So you're telling me, say I'm Caleb Cato, you're my friend Russell.
Hey, Caleb.
We've been friends for...
Went to Cape Coral.
6-7 years, and it's the off season. I want to hang out with you, and you want to buy me lunch.
You forgot your wallet.
You can't do that for me.
I think I could, and there's a bunch.
We're
of
not
gray
affiliated
area.
with the school,
right? There's a bunch of gray area, but still, I guess in theory, somebody could cause a stink about that.
Anyone listening, let us know what we can do.
Or we might just take this out because this is really boring talk.
I think it's interesting because I think it's a bunch of bullshit.
Baloney is more polite.
I don't care what's polite.
So you asked about most improved. Not to be redundant, but how does that not go to Cato as well? 4 points a game as a freshman to 13 points a game as a sophomore. 9-point jump. That's fantastic. Role player guy last year to the guy this year. So, I mean, that's got to go there. We're talking about biggest surprise. I think you can answer that. He's been your boy the whole time. You're the one who said...
Before the season started, I was looking at his mixtapes, and I was like, man, this guy's got some grit to him and some fire.
And then me, I'm like, well, yeah, of course he does. It's a highlight tape. But who knows how it's going to look come season. He's just a walk-on. And who is that?
Mr. Cyrus Largy.
That's correct.
Yep. Coming in as a walk-on and ended up starting, I don't know how many games, but
4 games, playing 25.
And then in the last game, most important game of the season, he gets a career high in points.
Mm-hmm.
And was it?
I don't know if it's a career high in rebounds. It was 7, but it was high nonetheless.
Yeah.
I think he might have got 8 a couple games before that. But regardless, I mean, one of the more impressive things for him, too, is 52% from the floor, 56% from beyond the arc. This is all season.
Wow.
If you go the last 7 games, 67% from beyond the arc.
Wow.
Now, he wasn't a high volume shooter, but even when you ask Coach Fly about that after or in the press conferences, he'd say he's not a guy that, as of right now, we're expecting to get 20 points a night or anything, but send him in. He's going to light a fire under everybody.
He wasn't a guy we were expecting to play
not
really
at
all.
No. I mean, all the other walk-on, you're talking Lenny Rica, Chance Jackson, Ryan Raquant, Kyle Hoffman, played in 4 games this year, maybe. About a minute a game each time they came in. That's what you're expecting out of Largy, but yeah, I mean, hell, he played. I mean, who thought that would happen? We haven't had a walk-on contribute since Sherwood Brown. Yeah.
Yep.
Who's the guy with the beard? Marcus Blake.
Yeah.
Wasn't he a walk-on
I believe so.
the whole time?
But he was almost, I don't want to be mean, but it wasn't because he was good. It was more like he was a fan favorite, and like we didn't really have.
Oh, he looked like James Harden.
Yeah, he had the look.
Yeah,
but I don't think we had anyone else to play at that position, like depth wise.
6'7", about 210, something like that. Good body. But yeah, I have a couple of more interesting categories.
Yeah. I'm gonna introduce this next one.
Okay.
I think we're on the same wavelength.
Probably. That's all I've been thinking about.
So everyone knows Coach Fly has his bank of sayings. One of them being my guys,
our guys, any kind of guys.
Keep telling my guys.
Yeah.
So we took it upon ourselves to give the Fly's Guy Award.
Now I did.
That's very prestigious, by the way.
Yeah, this is probably better than the MVP.
And this took a lot of time on your part.
Yeah, I don't know if you're going to judge me for having no life.
Yes.
Or being very committed. But
when you texted me about this, it took a whole day, more or less.
It didn't take a whole day.
Not a
it
whole
took a
day.
whole morning.
Yeah.
So what the criteria for this Fly's Guy Award is that it's the player mentioned by name, not he or they or whatever. Because a lot of times the media member will say, so Cyrus Largy had this many rebounds. Can you talk about that? And it's like, yeah, he's a really good player for us. Doesn't count. Has to say Cyrus Largy verbatim. It's the player that Coach Fly mentioned by name most times in every single post-game press conference at home.
So, yeah, he went there.
Yes, I did. And that player, I feel like I'm being very redundant right now, was Caleb Cato, mentioned by name 26 times. You can go and check me, but I know you won't because it's a lot of time. 26 times by Coach Fly, mentioned Caleb Cato by name. So, yeah, again, Caleb Cato is the recipient of our Fly's Guy Award designation.
Who was second, third, fourth?
Second was Zach Scott. I think it was about 3 behind. I think he might have been... Cato was 27. Zach Scott was 24. And then after that was Justice Rainwater at 21. And then it was a tie, somewhat surprising, you might say, for 4th and 5th place of Jalen Warren and Dakota Rivers, mentioned 20 times apiece.
Wow.
Yeah, which I thought is kind of interesting for Dakota because did he start any games this year? No. He played in just about every one of them and, made a good impact every now and then. Sometimes he'd provide 18 points. Sometimes he'd get you, a double-double.
Did he really have 18 points?
I think that was his high this year.
Wow.
He exploded in 2 games this year where he had a lot of points. I think he had 1 double-double toward the end. But, still no starts. Didn't play a whole lot of minutes. Sometimes he did. And still found his way to, tying for 4th place in times mentioned by name by Coach Fly. And if I'm to draw any hyperbolic meaning from that, it would be that I expect Dakota Rivers to really be a big part of the program in the next couple of years.
To possibly win the most improved next year.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that.
But anyways, congrats, Caleb, on being Fly's guy.
I mean, we mentioned 4 awards so far, and Caleb has won 3 of them. So you got yourself 3 SR awards for this first year.
Yeah, feel proud.
It's big time.
Well, let's go through a couple others that are, on the list
Of significance.
that are not Caleb Gatto.
One of my personal favorites. Now, you and me noticed this recently. This was a planned designation because a lot of players care about their shoes, right? A lot of players have a strong shoe game, and sometimes they'll do a different shoe every night. Dakota Rivers liked to wear his faithful pink shoes.
He went from the pinks to the greens that one game.
And then he was like, nah.
The greens gave him trouble.
Yeah,
and
go back to the pinks.
Put them pinks back on.
Immediately probably made a basket as soon as the pinks were on. But yeah, players love their shoes. Kwanzi Samuels actually comes out with some pretty sweet kicks every now and then. But at the last home game of the season, it's the first time I noticed it, and I pointed it out to Elliott here, to whom was also equally excited. But Mr. Zach Scott was wearing what looked like that Kyrie line of SpongeBob themed shoes. And we're like, which ones are those? It's not Patrick's. It's not SpongeBob's, not the bikini bottom ones. Maybe it's Sandy. Maybe it's Squidward. So, of course, I did some more research on that. They're most definitely Squidwards. And how can that not be the winner of the best shoe game on the team? Exactly. Squidward's on the inside of the shoe. I'm sure it's probably worn off by now, but his face on the inside of the shoe. So congrats, Zach Scott, on the best shoe game. I will tell you, you won a more serious award as well. Not that you should be, any less proud of the best shoe game on the team.
Yeah, that's very prestigious awards in my book.
The highest of honors.
Any others we want to run through? Or are we going to save them for the article?
I'll do one more, and then I'll save the rest for the article. And that's going to be our biggest dirty bird, whatever you want to call it, award of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, so
towards Screecher Report.
Yes, toward our brand.
Which in turn towards FGCU.
Yeah.
Of course.
By association. But we, throughout our first year, we post articles, we post podcasts, and we're able to track, who is most involved in what we put out in some ways. And basically, our person who has been most engaged with us on social media and, on Twitter mainly, Instagram, whatever it may be, would go to Aquinas Basketball. No doubt, because they've blessed us with probably future Scout Teamer of the Year, Lenny Rica. Didn't play much this year, but we didn't really expect him to. But hey, that's 3 more years for you to, shoot 100% in a game in a season, like your man Ryan Roquant. But yeah, Aquinas Basketball has been very supportive, following us as we put out content, and we wanted to give a biggest supportive fan designation to them.
Shout out.
Mm-hmm. Hope the season went well. I know you're like really good at football. I don't really know about the basketball program much.
Were you recruited there?
That's a high school.
Oh. Well.
St. Thomas Aquinas?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I get confused between Aquinas, Ave Maria.
So when those
Florida Tech,
those are colleges.
Florida School, Water School.
So when I was playing high school football, the best football teams in Florida was like Plant, Armwood, St. Thomas Aquinas, and those are always great teams. Now, we didn't play any of those people, which is a great thing. We played a really good team. I want to say it was Robinson. We lost 69-0 my senior year. It was probably one of the worst moments of my life. It was just like, you couldn't do anything. Like, we had a pretty small team, a lot of our offensive players. And it was just watching grown men like walk all over my teammates. And I was one of the bigger guys, so I wasn't necessarily getting walked over, but was the guy across from me better than me? Yeah, I'm man enough to admit that. But so yeah, I'm glad we didn't play any of those teams. And I'm sure you're pretty good at basketball too, Aquinas. I mean, you gave us Lenny Rica, so thank you much.
Well, that was fun.
Sure.
Looking forward to reading about the rest of them whenever you decide to get off your ass and post them.
I can actually do that from my ass. I don't have to get off.
True. Yeah. For all you guys know, we could be, I could be, no, I'm not going to go there.
For all you know, we could be recording this podcast in a closet.
Yeah. Or a toilet. Or an RV.
Or a fun center.
In my bed.
Dave and Buster's.
Chuck E. Cheese.
No, Dave and Buster's.
Okay. Well, I guess that's going to do it for our last seasonal pod of our inaugural year.
Mm-hmm.
Went by really fast. I mean, it wasn't a year. Basketball year.
4 months of playtime.
Okay, Bonesaw. But we're looking to have a lot more content during the off season. Hopefully we can scrounge up some details and maybe some of the staff and players and
get some
people involved can give us some details. Thus we can debate it and get everyone hyped for next year.
And any listener, you ever have a question or topic that you want talked about, just send it over. We don't have to ask for it for you to give it to us. Just message us, tweet us, whatever. And yeah, next time we're on, we'll cover it.
Looking to have some guests on, as we mentioned last pod. So once we get those plans in place, looking for some more interesting debate and banter. Banter. So, all right, I gotta go let my dog out. So we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for tuning in this year. We appreciate the support, and we'll talk to you soon.
Go Eagles.